Hi, everyone, and welcome to our How to Use SPSS video series. In this video, I would first like to cover the basics. This video is going to cover everything you need to know in order to create a data file in SPSS. Feel free to follow along in your copy of Power of Numbers. I know I myself am a visual learner, so I'm hoping that this acts as a guide in how to find success while coding within SPSS. So let's get right into it. So when you first launch into SPSS, it will give you an empty spreadsheet that you can use to input your own data. But for the purposes of this video series, we're going to be utilizing the data set that's provided from the Power of Numbers book, which you can find on drshrivi.com. So if you're going to be opening a data set in SPSS, you're going to go to File, Open, and Data. I'm going to locate your data set, which is here, and click Open. You can utilize the input data function if you have created your data set in a different program, such as Excel. If you've used a survey platform like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or Qualtrics, you can also download the data into an Excel file and then upload the data from that Excel file to SPSS. It is important to know, however, you will still have to use variable view listed here to enter the properties of the data you imported so that SPSS can read the data you've uploaded when you import it. And you may be wondering, what is variable view? So right here, we're listed on variable view. It's the screen that you need to input your data with cells that will allow you to name each variable that you have in your study and specify the values and properties of each. Once you've created the variables and specified their properties and the data are entered, you can toggle back to data view here. And here you can look at all of the data set as a whole, which is now composed of the variables you used to create the variable view. So now that we're set up with our data set, let's cover our bases on what some of these terms mean. When you're setting up your own data file, rather than using the sample set under variable view, the first step is to name your variables, which is the column here. You can name your variables anything you like, as long as the name does not surpass the maximum number of characters, contains no spaces, and does not duplicate other variable names. And basically, it just needs to convey to you the meaning of that variable. The label tab here allows you to enter a longer explanation of what the variable name means without limits to characters or spaces. Also within variable view, you will see a place to indicate the values here of the variable. Within this tab, if you have a variable for which there's a relatively small number of categories used to classify the data, you use this field to indicate the numbers assigned to each category. The scale comprises interval and ratio level variables. For example, for each variable that measures agreement with a statement using a standard 5-point Likert scale, you would tell SPSS that 1 equals strongly disagree, 2 equals disagree, 3 equals neither agree nor disagree, 4 equals agree, and 5 equals strongly agree, if those were the responses of the options you used. We've already covered a lot in this video. You're in the home stretch, show just a couple more helpful terms on the columns in variable view. Okay. Numeric is a field to indicate whether the variable is comprised of simple numbers, numbers with a particular order and meaning like dollars or dates, even letters. And then we have width, decimals, and columns, and a line. These are all fields that simply have to do with the format of the display. Next, we have measure, which is a field that you can use to indicate the level of measurement for your variables, which is nominal, ordinal, and scale. Scale meaning combines interval and ratio. And finally, we have role. Role is a field in which you can assign variables as input, which means as a predictor or independent variable. And I think that's it. I think we covered all the basics. Can't wait to see you in our next video series, and I hope this video helped you learn how to create a data set.